It's strange how silence can feel heavier than words. The night he left, I could hear the ceiling fan hum, the city breathe outside my window, even my own heart struggling to stay quiet. I'm Ava, 24, a girl who used to believe love was supposed to save you. Now, I'm not so sure. When I met Liam, he had that kind of smile that made you forget your name for a second. He wasn't loud or showy, just calm, steady, the kind of man who could make chaos feel like home. We met at a cafe on a rainy afternoon. He borrowed my pen to sign his bill, then kept it as an excuse to see me again. I laughed when he showed up 2 days later to return it. That's how it began. Small things, soft beginnings. In the months that followed, he became the reason my world made sense. Late night drives, shared playlists, his hoodie draped over my chair. We built something that felt real. Or so I thought. But love doesn't always fade like a dying flame. Sometimes it burns bright, right until it explodes. I remember the first crack in our perfect picture. He started answering slower, smiling less. The man who used to text, "I miss you," mid-meeting, now left me on read for hours. At first, I blamed myself. Maybe I was too emotional, too needy. But deep down, I knew something was off. His eyes, when they met mine, carried a weight they never used to. Then came her name, Elena, a girl I'd never met, but somehow I started hearing her everywhere. In the stories he told, in the excuses he made. "She's just a friend from work," he said once, his tone a little too careful. I nodded, pretended I believed him. But lies have a scent. They linger. One night, I called him, no answer. Twice. Then again. Finally, at 2:11 a.m., I got a text. "Sorry. Fell asleep early." Except he just posted an Instagram story. Champagne, city lights, and a hand with red nail polish reflected in the glass. That's when something inside me broke. Not with a scream, but with silence. I didn't cry. I just sat there on my bed, watching that story loop over and over until it disappeared. Like my patience, like my trust. The next morning, I packed a small bag and went to his apartment. When he opened the door, his expression froze, guilt caught mid-breath. "Didn't expect you," he said. "No," I replied, "I'm sure you didn't." There she was, Elena, half-dressed, sitting on his couch, pretending to scroll her phone like she belonged there. I didn't shout, didn't throw anything. I just looked at him, really looked. And I saw it. The truth he'd been hiding behind every "I love you." "You could have just told me," I whispered. He looked down. "Eva, I didn't mean." "Don't," I said. "You did mean to. You just didn't think I'd find out." For a long moment, neither of us spoke. The only sound was the ticking clock on his wall. Time, mocking me. I turned to leave, but before I did, I said something I'll never forget. "I hope she gives you everything I tried to." Then I walked away, barefoot, mascara running, but strangely, lighter than I'd felt in months. Heartbreak doesn't kill you, it remakes you. The days that followed were blurry, crying into coffee mugs, deleting old photos, trying to forget his voice. But grief has a funny way of shaping you. It strips you down until all that's left is who you really are. I stopped checking my phone every 5 minutes. I started journaling, painting, running at dawn. I began remembering what it felt like to breathe for me, not for someone else. Sometimes I'd catch myself missing him, or at least the version of him I fell for. But then I'd remind myself, that version never really existed. He was an illusion built from my hope. Weeks turned into months, and then one evening I ran into him, at a bookstore, of all places. He looked the same, maybe a little tired, maybe a little sorry. Elena wasn't with him. He smiled that same crooked smile and said, "You look good, Ava." I nodded. "I am good." There was no anger left, no ache. Just peace. He asked if we could talk, maybe grab a coffee, just as friends. But I'd learned something. Not every chapter deserves a sequel. So I smiled politely and said, "No, Liam. Some stories end for a reason." Then I turned and walked out, sunlight spilling through the door, painting everything gold. For the first time in a long time, I didn't look back. That night, I stood on my balcony, the city alive beneath me. The air smelled like rain and possibility, and I realized I wasn't broken. I was becoming. Heartbreak didn't ruin me, it refined me. It taught me that love isn't supposed to make you small or scared or unsure. Real love, the kind I'll wait for, makes you feel seen. And until that comes, I'll keep choosing myself. Every single day. Because I'm not the girl who begged someone to stay. I'm the woman who learned to walk away and never lost herself again. It's been almost a year since I walked out of that bookstore. A year since I last saw Liam's face fade into the background of my life. Sometimes I still wonder if he ever really loved me, or if he just loved the way I made him feel. But I don't linger on that thought anymore, because I finally understand something I never did before. Love doesn't always arrive to stay. Sometimes it comes just to teach you how to leave. After him, I didn't jump into anything new. No rebound, no desperate attempts to fill the silence he left behind. I learned to sit with that silence. At first it felt unbearable, like standing in a house that used to be filled with laughter, now echoing with ghosts. But eventually I realized silence isn't emptiness. It's space. For healing, for growing, for becoming someone I'd forgotten existed. I started writing again. Just small things at first. Thoughts, memories, letters I'd never send. Words poured out of me like water finally finding its way home. Every sentence felt like pulling a shard out of my chest. Painful, yes, but freeing. I didn't write about him. I wrote about me. The girl who had forgotten how to dream for herself. I took a solo trip to the coast that summer. It wasn't planned. I just woke up one morning, packed my bag, and left. The sea was wild that day, all silver and salt and sound. Standing there, with the wind clawing through my hair, I realized how small I was, and how much that didn't scare me anymore. Because for the first time, I wasn't trying to be someone's everything. I was just trying to be mine. I met people too. Kind souls, strangers who felt like brief constellations. An old painter who told me, pain is proof that you felt something worth remembering. A barista who slipped a note into my coffee sleeve that said, healing looks good on you. It's strange how the world gives you small signs when you're finally ready to see them. Slowly, I began to fall in love again, not with someone else, but with the life I was creating. Morning runs under orange skies, cooking dinner for one and not calling it lonely. Laughing at old photos, not because I miss them, but because I survived them. Healing isn't this beautiful, cinematic thing people make it sound like. It's messy. It's waking up one day feeling like you've moved on, and then crying again because a song came on at the wrong time. It's deleting his number and then remembering it by heart anyway. It's learning to forgive, not him, but yourself, for the times you stayed when you shouldn't have. But every time I stumbled, I found a little more strength waiting for me. The kind I didn't know I had. The kind that whispers, you can do this, when the world goes quiet. One night, months later, I found one of his old letters tucked inside a book I hadn't opened since the beginning. It was a simple note. Just a few lines about how much he loved me. For a second, I felt that old ache again, the one that used to grip my throat. But this time, instead of crying, I smiled. Because I realized that version of me, the girl who believed those words, she deserved love. Even if it wasn't from him, she deserved someone to write her back, and now she had me. So I wrote one final letter, to myself. Dear Ava, you did it. You turned pain into poetry, loss into lesson, heartbreak into homecoming. You stopped chasing what broke you and started building what made you whole. You're not the same girl who begged someone to choose her. You're the woman who finally chose herself. And that, my love, is everything. I folded it neatly and left it between the pages of that same book. Maybe one day I'll forget it's there. Maybe someday, years from now, I'll open it and remember this version of me. The one who fought her way out of the storm and learned to dance in the rain. Now, when I look at my reflection, I don't see a girl who was abandoned. I see someone who was set free. I see a woman who stopped asking, why me, and started saying, thank you. Because if he hadn't broken my heart, I might never have found the pieces that made me real. People think healing means forgetting, but I disagree. I remember everything. The laughter. The nights I stayed awake waiting for a message that never came. The way it felt to be loved. and the way it felt to be lied to. But those memories don't define me anymore. They remind me of how far I've come. Sometimes, when the sun sets just right and the sky turns gold, I still whisper his name. Not because I want him back, but because I'm grateful. He was the ending I needed to find my beginning. And maybe that's what love really is. Not someone completing you, but someone teaching you that you were already whole. Now, my days are quieter, but they're full. Full of laughter, art, moments that feel honest. My home doesn't echo with ghosts anymore. It hums with peace. I fill it with music, books, and the smell of coffee every morning. No more pretending. No more waiting, just living. Sometimes people ask if I'd ever fall in love again. And I smile. Because I already have. With life, with possibility, with myself. And if love finds me again, it'll have to match the peace I built on my own. So here I am, not broken, not bitter. Just becoming. Becoming the kind of woman who knows her worth without needing proof. Becoming the kind of heart that stays soft even after it's been hurt. Becoming the kind of soul that knows endings aren't failures, they're beginnings in disguise. And maybe that's all we ever really need to learn. That every goodbye teaches us a little more about who we are meant to be. Because in the end, I didn't just survive losing him, I found me.